Hello everyone. Thanks for listening RFID for real. Real world use of RFID in retail and apparel. I'm Sean. I've spent years working with brands like Nike, Lululemon, and Walmart, helping them transition from barcode chaos to RFID clarity. So, this show isn't about theory or technical things. It's about practical lessons, implementation challenges, and what it actually takes to make RFID work on the ground. So, if you are a brand owner, operator, or solution partner wondering how do we start with RFID, this podcast is for you. Let's dive in. First, let me share you about a story that happens every single day in thousands of retail stores around the world. A customer, let's say Peter. Peter walks in, check online, and see that in the local store they have 5 units of the product he wants. Might be a large black hoodie. Excited, so Peter decides to head straight to the shelf. But when he get there, nothing, zero, empty hanger, no hoodies, no explanation. The store system says there are 5, but staff checks the stockroom, still nothing. Sounds familiar? This isn't a one time mistake. It's a common problem in retail, and it has a name: inventory recall inaccuracy. In simple terms, the system says something is there, but it's not. This is exactly where RFID comes in. It closes the gap. RFID tells you what's really in stock in real time. And here's the best part. When store gets it right, shoppers notice. So the customer come back, they trust the brand, and they buy more. Let's go straight to the problem. Most retailers trust their systems. If the ERP says you got 10 units in stock, the assumption is they must be there. But here's the truth. The trust sometimes means nothing. There's a term for this: inventory recall inaccuracy, or we call it IRI. It's the gap between that your system says you have and what's actually on the shelf. And in the apparel industry, that gap can be huge. Why? Because fashion retail isn't just about products, it's about variations. Style, color, size, fit, the difference matters. If a customer wants a black hoodie in size L and all you have is small or red, that's not a sales. That's a lost sale. And when shelves are empty, but system says they are full, you get frustrated shopper, miss the revenue, and eroded trust in your brand. We cannot sell what we don't have. And when products are invisible, we're not just losing sales, we are damaging our reputation. That's the silent killer in retail. So we think everything is fine until our data says yes, but our customer says no. So let's figure out where's the problem happen. Why does the system says 5 in stock, but the shelf is empty? Let's break it down. Because this is not just a technical issue, it's a process issue. In retail, especially in apparel and footwear, there are multiple points where errors can creep in. First, at the supplier level, maybe the factory ships 100 items to the warehouse, but only 98 arrived. No one catches the mismatch. Then comes to DC to store transfer. Cartoons might get mixed up or mislabeled, or even lost in transition. One store gets extra, another gets shorted, but the system doesn't always reflect the difference. Even after the product reaches the store, mistakes still might be happened. Items stay stuck in the stock room, never making it to the floor, or even worse, they were shelved in the wrong section, wrong size zone, wrong color rack. So maybe we can try cycle counts, but still have risk, still mostly manual. Barcode scanning takes time, and it's easy to miss or double scan. If the count is off, the system gets out of sync and stay that way. Theft and shrinkage also a problem, especially when the store doesn't catch it fast enough. But here's a more common and often overlooked cost: returns and exchanges. A customer comes back to switch a size of color. They return a medium, take a large, and somewhere along the process, the item isn't scanned correctly or the system isn't updated. Maybe the staff forgot to retag it. Maybe the post system doesn't sync with the inventory backend. And just like that, the system says you have something, but you don't. The bottom line: barcodes only show what's be scanned. They cannot tell you what's missing, misplaced, or never updated in the first place. And that's where RFID changes the game. How can we do to solve this problem if we don't use RFID? First, we can try to add extra manual checks. For example, staff might double count shipments when receiving goods, or walk the floor multiple times during a sales to make sure shelves always accurate. We can build in double verification process, like having two people sign off when transferring stock between stores or moving good items from backroom to floors. We can hire more people, more stockroom clerks, more inventory control staff, more floor associates, all trying to spot errors before customers did. Most retailers introduce weekly or bi-weekly cycle counts. Teams would come in early or stay late to scan everything. It took hours, sometimes days, and often disrupted store operations. But here's the truth: all of that effort added labor cost, took valuable time, and still left gaps. Because no matter how many times we scanned, no matter how many heads we count, manual systems are fragile. Human errors stack up, things get missed, and the data goes stale fast. Retailers were doing their best, but the tools are not good enough for the modern retail. And that's exactly why RFID starts getting attention, not as a gimmick, but as a real operational upgrade. So, what's the big deal about RFID? Let's make it simple. RFID doesn't just improve inventory, it redefines how inventory is managed. First, we don't need to line of sight. Unlike barcodes, which requires a direct scan, RFID text can be read remotely through boxes, behind shelves, or even inside a pile of folded clothes. That means faster, easier, more complete reads with fewer missed items. Second, real-time visibility. RFID gives you a live picture of what's in the store, down to the item level, not just 10 black hoodies in stock, but exactly which 10, what sizes, what style, or where they are right now. Third, cycle counts that takes hours, not days. A full store RFID scan can be done in just a few hours, sometimes under one. Compare that to traditional cycle counts that take days and disrupt operations. And finally, lost items are no longer lost. RFID handhelds can literally guide staff to misplaced items. Wrong rack, wrong, stock room, the system knows and shows you where to go. It's like giving the staffs X-ray vision for inventory. And the impact is huge. Less labor, better accuracy, faster decisions, happier customers. That's not a small fix. That's a fundamental shift. Someone says RFID is just a remote barcode. Really? Definitely not. Barcodes and RFID are not the same thing, even though they can carry similar product info. A barcode, especially at the SKU level, can tell you the product style, color, and size. For example, a large black t-shirt. They let our system say, we have 10 large black t-shirts in stock. But here's the difference. Barcode doesn't check each individual unit. They tell you how many of that SKU exist, but not which exactly items are still on the floor, which ones are missing, or which ones were returned or never scanned back in. Now compare that to RFID, which works at the item level, not just SKU. RFID tags are unique to each item. That means the system knows we have a serial number 1 in the fitting room, 2 on the sales floor, and 3 just left through checkout. It's not just about how many, it's about exactly which ones. That's a game changer when it comes to managing returns, preventing theft, replenishment faster, or finding misplaced stock in real time. Think of it this way. Barcodes tell you what and how many. RFID tells you what, how many, where, and which exact one. So that difference, it shifts from batch data to precise item level visibility. Sounds excited? But hold on. Let's be clear. RFID is not just a new piece of tech you can plug in and forget. It's a system change, a shift in how information flows across your entire supply chain. Most people assume the biggest challenge is cost. Yes, RFID tags and the readers do added some cost, but that's not the real bottleneck. The real challenge is how your team works. Think about it. From the moment a product leaves the factory, data has to follow that items through distribution centers, into stores, onto shelves, and even through customers' returns. That means our systems, our processes, our people all need to be aligned. We cannot just take items and expect results. We need to redesign how goods are received, how inventory is counted, how replenishment is triggered, and how exceptions are handled. If we are still operating like a barcode-based SOP, just taking our products with RFID won't solve anything. RFID success depends on change management, training staff, rethinking workflows, integrating softwares, and monitoring adoptions. It's not hard, but it does take commitment and cross-functional leadership. In short, RFID is not just about buying tags and readers. It's about upgrading how our business works end to end. Now, Let's talk about one of the most important and the most misunderstood choices in RFID implementation. Where do we start to tagging our products? Some brands choose to apply RFID tags only at the warehouse or once the goods reach the store in the pilot run. It feels like a simpler, lower cost to test the water. But here's the problem: you are only seeing parts of the picture. If you tag items after they've already left the factory, you are missing all the upstream visibility. Production issue, incorrect shipments, vendor errors all go undetected, and that leads to bad data before your tag even gets applied. This is why leading brands go for source tagging, which means the RFID tag is applied at the manufacturing site before the item ships. Which source tagging, we get end-to-end visibility from production to DC to store to shelf. It's the only way to truly check an item's journey, and it's how we unlock the full ROI of RFID. Because here's the truth: RFID isn't just a store tool, it's a supply chain strategy. If we only tagging in store, we are just firefighting. If we tag at the source, we can build the intelligence into the product itself, and that changes everything. I believe a lot of our audience are already heard of RFID. Some of you might already have plans about it in your business. So let's discuss about this. Where do you start RFID? Some people choose from one store and one SKU, thinking it's a low risk pilot. But this approach might be risk. We won't see the real value of RFID because we are not testing the full process. Instead, we can start small, but start smart. We can pick one product category like shoes or denim or outwear, then roll it out across a small group of stores. Ideally, different types, high traffic, outlet, flagship. Why? Because RFID isn't just about text, it's about training staff, adapting operations, and seeing how data flow across real life retail conditions. For example, Nike might start with RFID in their footwear category first, since shoe sizes are easy to check and the footwear are always high value. Once that's stable, they can scale to apparel, bags, and accessories, even returns. The goal of a pilot is not just to prove the technical works, it's to prove that our organization can work with it. So don't just dip a toy in it. Design a pilot that reflects our real business and gets us real insights. This is today's episode. It was just a trial run, a pilot episode to kick things off. My goal was simple: to lay the groundwork and share a clear, no fluff overview of how RFID is actually being used in the retail and apparel industry, what problems it solves, where the real value is, and what to watch out for. If you found this episode useful, if it gives you ideas, clarity, or even a few new questions, then I love to keep building from here. In upcoming episodes, we'll go deeper into RFID software and the system integration, hardware and the device selection, total cost of ownership and the ROI, real world case study. So if you are curious about how to make RFID work in your business, or just want to follow how the industry is evolving, you are in the right place. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.